Hey people, it's EDDBUD here, back with what could be the last running shoe yay or nay for 2023. Today I'm looking at 4 upcoming or soon to be released running shoes and letting you know if I'm going to be picking them up for review or not. I might even give you a little bit of reasoning behind my decision too. It could be that another shoe tuber could just do them more justice than I, or perhaps they don't fit into my shoe rotation whatsoever. They might be absolute bangers and I just have to get them. Today we got some real heavy hitters stepping up to the plate. The ALPHAFLY 3 from Nike, everybody's talking about that one. The Zoomfly 6 as well, a leaked image. The Gel Nimbus 26 from ASICS, and also the MIZUNO WAVE REBELLION PRO 2. Let's get straight into it, people. Thanks for joining me on the channel once again. If you've yet to do so, and there's a number of you out there, please do hit the subscribe button, it really does help out. Give this video a thumbs up like too. Dankeschön. We will kick off the yay or nay with shoe number 1, which is the Zoomfly 6. We have a leaked image here of what appears to be the Nike Zoomfly 6 in this purple and white colorway. Now, this one features geometry that has elements of both the Vaporfly and the ALPHAFLY models. Certainly in terms of that midsole, it does look like both models kind of put together, glued together, only we've got a bit more upper material with the now famous swoosh that just passes onto the midsole foam. Now, that midsole at the rear of the shoe does feature that Zoom X logo, so I assume there is a section at least of Zoom X here in the midsole. Doesn't appear though to be that SR02 stuff that we've seen then with Zoom X kind of placed in it as like an insert. Perhaps we've got a top layer of Zoom X and then a bottom layer of React X. Very much speculation at this point. I can't believe that Nike would go with a full Zoom X midsole, as that effectively makes the shoe a Vaporfly but without that very flimsy upper material. I think this one's certainly a trainer though, with the reflective pieces on the lateral side of the toe box here and the more considerable built up eye stays on the chain on either side. It's a little like the Vaporfly and the ALPHAFLY got mixed together in the machine that features in the film The Fly, and this is what popped out at the end. Perhaps a little bit more easier to stomach than how Jeff Goldblum looked then. Clearly this time the shoe is set to mimic the ALPHAFLY a little bit more though in terms of profile, perhaps moving that Nike shoe to the top of the tier now really. Well, I mean, it certainly is in terms of price, isn't it? With the more substantial upper on show here, I don't think that this is a Vaporfly 4. There's simply too much upper material to make that a possibility. Now, the last 3 versions of the Zoomfly series have been really poor in my personal opinion, really lagging behind many of the other manufacturers' options in that sort of tempo sphere. Let's hope that this one brings the shoe back towards what it used to be within the first 2 iterations. I love the original Zoomfly and the Zoomfly Flyknit. That was an absolute banger. So I think I'll definitely check out the Zoomfly 6, pretty much because my viewers will want to see a review of that one when it does drop, whenever that is, sometime in 2024. So it's a yay on that one. I did want to mention another leaked image that I saw of the Tempo Next Percent 2, or what was supposedly going to be that shoe, the apparently weight relieved Air Zoom Pod equipped model, perhaps intended as a trainer to the ALPHAFLY 2. I doubt this one is ever going to see the light of day now. I think the differences between that shoe and perhaps the ALPHAFLY 2 were just too small really for Nike to consider another option that was, you know, up there above 180 quid here in the UK. They just don't need another shoe in the Nike lineup right now, especially considering the recent news that Nike is set to cut costs by $2 billion over the next 3 years due to some really sluggish sales. Stuff just isn't shifting. So I don't think adding more to the Nike running lineup helps with that at all. Okay, on to shoe 2 now. It's one of the big ones, the ALPHAFLY 3. Everybody and their dog is talking about this one. I do get sent a lot of shoes from brands to review and test out, though Nike are not one of those brands. So when I've got to consider I've got to fork out 285 Earth credits on a shoe, I have to be certain that people are going to want to watch the review. I think that that is going to be the case on the ALPHAFLY 3, though I think perhaps the YouTube market is completely saturated with videos about that shoe right now. Seems a little odd that they've just released a version of the ALPHAFLY 2 in that Ecodon colorway at the same price, only weeks before this new version set to drop, which is supposedly better. We know the setup here: 15% weight reduction over the ALPHAFLY 2, improved traction, the improved arch area. It's all improved, but really for average everyday folks, is it going to be all that much better than the ALPHAFLY 2? Let's not forget the ALPHAFLY series is still a very light shoe in comparison to many others out there, but of course we've got a lot of interest around this one, mainly due to that new world record that was set by Kipton back in 2023. It's new traction patterns, new upper materials. Though one thing that does interest me here is the very aggressive advertising from Nike about the shoe. They seem to have sent this one out to pretty much every reviewer on earth, aside from me. Not that I'm salty or anything. This does tell me one thing though, that Nike are worried about the competition now. They would never have done this a few years ago. I think perhaps a bit of the mystique has worn off in terms of the Vaporfly and the ALPHAFLY, and they're simply finding it harder to sell shoes these days when you've got lots of other viable alternatives from Adidas, Saucony, ASICS, Hoka. Yeah, do I need to go on? Judging by Ben Johnson's Instagram posts recently about the shoe though, it does seem to be an incredibly durable model, and that is certainly a big bonus from the last two versions. He's really put them through their paces and they've taken a pounding. They're still looking really good actually, so that is a really interesting aspect. Come January the 4th, I will try and get a pair, but if I miss out, you won't see me crying, and neither will my credit card. So it's a tentative yay on this one. It's a lot of money to spend though, especially if the shoe turns out like the ALPHAFLY 2, which wasn't really the greatest model for me. And they did say that they'd fix the arch issue in the ALPHAFLY 2, and they hadn't. Shoe 3 is the Gel Nimbus 26 from ASICS. This one is incoming in January from the Japanese brand. Seems to be a very minor update though over the previous version. This one has a slightly switched up lacing configuration over the 25. The midsole geometry is altered very slightly, and they've also toyed with the outsole rubber. That was a slight bone of contention for me on the Nimbus 25. Does look like they've switched things up this time round, and that is very, very welcome. In wet conditions that shoe was pretty slippery. I did notice that ASICS released a trail version of the shoe later in the year. Now the Nimbus is one of those local runner sort of hero shoes. It just does lots of things pretty well. You've got a huge amount of cushion here in the 26 as well, plus some ASICS gel in the heel to facilitate a little bit more impact protection. It's going to be on the feet of many local half marathon and marathon runners over the next year, that is for sure. I'm keen to see if last year's version has been improved upon. I think probably they have made some very subtle changes here. ASICS don't tend to just completely destroy their designs and, you know, go on to the next shoe. They're a little bit more thoughtful in their approach, and I think that's a really good idea. Obviously outsole grip and upper fit will be improved, but I don't see there being a big weight reduction here in the Nimbus 26. Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco is one of those slightly denser, firmer materials. We saw that in the last version and in the Nova Blast 4 as well, which is a slightly more sort of subtle shoe this time. It's a big departure actually from the very compressive, spongy-like Flight Foam Blast that we saw like years back. Totally different to that. So it's a yay on the Nimbus 26. There'll be a lot of interest in this shoe from those average daily runners that are out there, clocking up the miles right now when I should be. I just think it's a really popular model, and it'll be a noteworthy review for people who watch the channel. Shoe 4 and the last one for today is from Mizuno. It's the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. This is launched in Australia by the looks of it. You can purchase it right now. The medial midsole carving around the arch area is gone, but they have carved all the way through the centre section of the shoe right out the back. That's probably to try and keep the weight down to somewhere near where it was in the original version of the shoe. The midsole stack in these new images does seem to be more extended though. I think the drop must be altered to ensure the shoe is still World Athletics legal in terms of marathon racing. Just checked it out actually. Apparently the new drop of the V2 version of the shoe is 1.5 millimeters. So I think they've put more stack in the forefoot area as well. They reckon it's like a 38, 36.5 kind of split, whereas the original was 39-33. I think this one's set to drop fairly soon in the UK. I'll be very keen to test it out. The Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro original had some of the best outsole grip of any shoe I tested out over the last year. It looks like we got the same stuff on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. I mean, this shoe is kind of between that sort of Primex and race shoe category for me. It really is quite a unique and very characterful ride. Whether the V2 is anything like the original version, I don't know, but if it is, I will certainly be enjoying it. As such, it's a big yay on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 from Mizuno. What do you make of my selections and choices today, people? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Quick musical interlude for you. I'm not entirely sure people will find this very Christmassy, but it's certainly one I've been listening to over the last couple of days, and that's Transmission from Joy Division. Now, I love this track. It really did sort of help define to me what like interesting, exciting music is when I was a younger lad. Feels almost like it's been programmed using a computer, but it isn't, obviously. It's played by actual humans together in a room. The effects on the drums make them sound like they're from like a drum machine. They've got some pre-delay on the reverb. It's sort of like gated reverb almost. I love the sound of Hook's bass on this one too. Really sort of rubbery, sort of rubber bandy style with a little bit of overdrive on there. Just all the component pieces there fit together and leave this great sort of vacuum in the middle for the vocal as well. Curtis's voice on this one is fantastic. Really passionate delivery. Again, it's a song where you kind of listen to the lyrics. It feels like the artist is really putting something across to you rather than just reading off a sheet or something. What a band, you know, Joy Division. They must have helped form, you know, hundreds and hundreds of bands over the course of the last 30, 40 years. Go and check them out if you've never heard any of their material before. Joy Division, my favourite track, Transmission. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's always appreciated. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, but also hit the bell for notifications too. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you